What's going on, people? So, got to give this a second just to make sure that it actually pops up on the YouTube thing and all that stuff, because I don't want to get in here all talking about things and whatnot just to find out that this was all for nothing, right? It's happened before, not so much on like the live setting, but more so in like the actual videos. Not a fan of it. There we go. So, here's the thing. Got all these shoes that I wore last month, right? It's kind of a thing I've been doing a little bit lately. I think what I'll start doing with these videos is probably use them to kind of supplement the actual reviews that I do, talk about like the whole real world experience and all that good stuff, because it's going to be a lot easier than just like coming back to it later and making these individual ones. You know what I'm saying? So I'll probably start doing that. And also, while I'm doing this and whatnot, I did ask a question or put a poll out there. What do you call it? Like, ask for some questions. Either way, on the Instagram thing not too long ago, right? So some people threw in some questions, so I will be getting to those between these different little stacks of shoes, right? So there's that. But for now, we're just gonna go ahead and jump on into this because I know that some people do actually like watch these things after the fact. So I like to just treat them as actual videos rather than just like sitting here and waiting on people to show up and whatnot. Because what if nobody shows up, right? Then what? I just sit here? That's stupid. First week, right? So kick things off. Well, I didn't necessarily kick things off with them. I don't know what order these things are in, but this right here, this is the Adidas Ultra Boost All Terrain Neighborhood, right? Remember these from 2019? I think it was either late 19 or very early 20. Either way, it's one of those all terrain releases, right? It's kind of got like a different sort of sole, at least what you're used to compared to like any other Ultra Boost or whatever. But it's very much a lie because this is not a shoe for all terrain because the upper is still the same as like your standard Ultra Boost, right? And that is not an all terrain wear, not at all. Trust me, I have a few pair, right? I've been on a number of terrains, right? I've been out there in the world just a little bit. These, they look cool. They got this little shark sort of tooth thing going on, and I do like that. But yeah, past that, these they're cool, right? I like them. Don't get me wrong, but they are not what they are billed to be. So just take that for what it's worth if you're having to look into a pair. They are nice though. I mean, I would suggest them just for the visual, but past that, I don't know. So, anyways, moving along. Got this right here. This is the Vans Blur Check, right? Remember these? Some of you guys may have seen the video. It's like super old at this point. I want to say this was one of my first year reviews, right? I did two that year because I did this one and then I also have the one with like the laces, but that's down at mom's house. Either way, so I pulled these out because somebody at work had said something about Vans shoes. And I was like, I'll wear a pair of Vans tomorrow. Why not? So I pulled out some Vans, and these were the ones I went with because they're just really cool. As far as like a visual piece, I'd say that these and my, what's that, Sean Christensen or something? No, Chris Johansson. The Chris Johansson EXO Range Ultra, whatever. Those are probably my favorite from a visual standpoint, but these are likely number one. They're terrible when it comes to comfort, right? Because it's just terrible. But they look cool, so for short distances, short times, whatever, not a bad thing to go with. So there is that. And at some point during that week, I pulled these things out. You can't quite tell what color this is because the way the camera kind of sucks a bit, right? But trust me when I say this is like some sort of Volt neon color, right? Kind of like a yellow in some ways, kind of like a green in some ways or whatever. But yeah, these are definitely a personal favorite because the Vapor Max 2, which is what this is, the Vapor Max 2 was like a really good line. It was probably of the Vapor Max series or whatever, it might be my favorite because it just had a lot of the best colorways in my opinion. I did kind of like the knitting style of the three, but again, just going by how many releases I actually liked, I liked more twos than threes. And then everything after that has been okay, but mostly not as good. You know what I'm saying? But these right here, this is one of the favorites. I ended up getting these from Finish Line back in El Paso at Cielo Vista Mall because like they were the one store that actually had them in stock and stuff. And they kind of didn't really have them in stock, but they were willing to like find them online and like order them for me from like one of their other stores and have them sent to my home. So very cool, very cool. Kind of missed those days of like shopping at the malls and stuff. It was pretty nice. I mean, it was more costly because even though I did like get a lot of in-store deals, I spent a lot more because I was buying a lot more, right? But what can you do, right? It's That's how things go. And then we have this. Anybody want to take any guesses as to what's in here? You'll probably be wrong because, you know, I don't think anybody's thinking about these, right? Nothing against you. I just feel like this is not something that people are talking about, except for maybe for a month or so last year. This is the Air Max 2021, which strangely enough didn't come out in Air Max month from what I recall. I think it came out like right after, like in April or something. So it could have been distribution things or whatever, but it is what it is. Either way, I was thinking about buying another pair of these, right? Because I do remember liking these, and I looked online. I found some decent ones. I found a black and university gold pair, which is the thing that often catches my attention. But then I wore these, and I was like, you know what? These are fine. I do like them, but I don't know that I want more of these. I feel like the one is good. So then I didn't buy any more, and that's the end of that story. Not a great story, right? But whatever. So these right here, though, I will say I do like them a lot. They have a weird look to them, but a lot of people actually like commented on these, like in real life, in public. They would see them and they'd be like, "Oh, what are those? Those are cool. Wow, look at that. You got some fancy shoes, guy." Different people in like different places. Whether it be like Walmart or like I don't know, the other department stores, because I guess that's really all I go to besides work and the gym. But people would see them and they would think that they were cool, and then they'd probably not buy them because I think most people are just into the look somewhat. But when it came to like other like shoe people or whatever, they tended to overlook these, and I get it, right? There's no real hype or anything behind them. I mean, they're comfortable, but there are other things that are as comfortable or more that are more widely available in a wider array of colors. So it's just one of those things where, like, you buy these if you want these, right? Like, there are other things that I'll suggest to anybody if you just want a comfortable shoe, like the Gel Light 3s. There might be one in this. No, there's not. Like the Gel Light 3s, right? I'll suggest those to anybody. Anyways, so that's week number 1, right? So got a question in here that I was going to get to. So Joe, again, these came from the Instagram. He asks, Godzilla versus Kong. Now, obviously, there's no question mark there, but I'm going to assume he just wanted my thoughts on it because I did leave it open for just topics too. Here's my thought on that, right? That movie came out last year, 2021, right? And you're telling me by this time they haven't found the real Kong or the real Godzilla to be in either of these movies or whatever? And what's that all about, right? I see all this CGI. It's like, no, get the real deal, right? We deserve better as a society, right? Also, the Mecha Godzilla, same thing applies. Like all the technology out there, they can't make one of those now. I don't get that. But watching the movie again, past those complaints, I saw like that black dude from Bullet Train was in it. I was like, oh, I don't remember that, so that's cool. He's entertaining. But the movie itself, though, past all that stuff, it was fine. And the one thing that I realized, oh, also I'll mention that the little girl in there, the little girl, did not like her. I don't know why. She just rubbed me the wrong way. So I could have done without that. But the one thing I do remember from last year when I saw that was I didn't know there were more movies to that series because all I'd seen was like Kong and that, which is why a lot of it didn't make sense, like why that little girl was there. But either way, yeah, decent movie, not amazing, but something to pass the time. On to stack number 2. Got to remember to put some timestamps in here or something. So we'll see. What is this? Is that even on the screen? So that way I can let people know where their questions were in here. I don't know. That means I'm just gonna have to go through this later, which sucks because I don't like clicking on my own videos and like scrolling through them because like it just feels narcissistic, maybe. I don't know. I don't like it. So moving on. This right here, right? This is what is this? The Adidas 4D Run 1.0. Yeah. In Glory Blue, I want to say was the name of this. So these right here, right? I bought these because like they seem kind of cool, and this was around the time when Adidas first started dropping the prices of their 4D shoes from like 250 to 300 down to like 180 or something, right? Because otherwise they were not going to sell, at least not to me. So I got these and I'm like, oh, these are pretty cool, right? And it had running in the title, so I'm thinking it'll be a nice little running shoe. It is not. I ran in these once because I was going to do like a performance thing. Nope, that was enough for me. They're still fine as far as just like daily wear, like if like going out to work, going out doing some errands or something. But Yeah, running in these, there's just so many things that are better, especially at that price point. Even below that price point, you know? What is it, like the Cumulus, like the Asics Cumulus? Not amazing, but it's like retail wise, good $60 cheaper. I'd take that over this any day. Or the Dynablast, same thing. But it is what it is, right? It's kind of a cool look, so that's kind of how they got by. But it was a short-lived thing, though, too, right? I don't think I've seen. I think I saw like the two, possibly three colorways of those when they happened, and never again. So, given that there's no 2.0, that kind of gives you an idea of how they felt about it. The only 2.0 out there right now is, well, I don't think they go by 2.0. Like, was it like Daddy Magic and Cool Hand Luke or whatever? Yeah, Cool Hand Ange. Moving along. So this right here, this is from the Nice Kicks. There it is, Nice Kicks collection or whatever you want to call it. Collaboration is the word I'm looking for. So these, they've worked with Adidas, made a pair of Ultra Boost, right? There was a very similar pair the previous year, or maybe just several months earlier, but that one was like black and white, whereas this one is like maroon and red or burgundy and red. Because when you look down in there, it looks like it might be a black and red. It's not. It's just like it's some kind of weird color. I don't know. It's like Brimstone. Is that a color name? I don't know. As it's a name I associate with Kane, and like I kind of think about him when I look at these. You know, Kane, the wrestler, who's also the mayor. Either way, these right here, they're pretty cool, but I do have a pretty solid dislike for the way the material is on here, because since it's kind of like painted on, when the material stretches, like if you're moving your toes around, it becomes kind of like you can see like the color under it. So on the other ones, I think they were white, so you would see like all this extra white unpainted fabric under there, and just kind of like, I don't know, just kind of kills them in a way. Not bad enough to the point where I didn't buy this pair, but it's a thing that I think about. Same thing applies to like the Woodstocks as well. It's just how they do that stuff, you know? But they are cool enough that I don't mind having them. And they do have something of a gum bottom, which I'm a fan of too. Though this one, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's more like a peanut butter sort of color, right? Maybe you see that if you look past the dirt, because I know a lot of people do like to clean their shoes and keep them nice looking and stuff. I mean, if something happens to the upper, I'll clean something maybe, but otherwise, unless something catastrophic goes on, they just go right back in the box when everything's said and done. This right here, so I pulled these out. This is the VaporMax 21, right? I believe it's the 21. Yeah, because the 20 had the block on there. The thing was awful. But either way, so I pulled these out because when I was doing my Green Bean 5 review, they came to mind for some odd reason. I thought, let's bring those out again. It's been probably at least a year. So these right here, definitely like a favorite as far as like models go, right? I don't know what they'll do for the VaporMax 22 or whatever, but I think they have a pretty good thing going now. So I'm guessing if anything, they might just change up like the stitching pattern or something, like the visual. But if they kind of lock it in with what they've done here, I'd be cool with it, right? VaporMax isn't for everybody, but I think between the different design as far as like the midsole goes, and then making the bulbils overall shorter, right? Like shorter. Yeah, I think that was definitely a good move. And then when they got rid of that block, yeah, I'm cool with these minus the price because they're like 220 by default, and that is just unnecessary. Luckily, everybody agrees that that's unnecessary, so nobody really buys them. And since nobody really buys them, they go on some pretty decent sales. So if you're looking for a pair, the color choice is fairly limited, but you can at least know that you'll probably be able to get a good deal if you're at least patient and pay attention. I pulled these out because of a review that I was doing last month as well, right? This is the Adidas Ultra Boost CC1, CC being climate cool, right? As it says up there. So it's a great shoe for like hot weather because you can kind of tell maybe that's got all this extra ventilation and stuff going on, right? So that's kind of like why it's got like a somewhat of a weird look, but functionality wise, these are really good. I mostly just pulled them out though because I needed like a reminder of how these felt. So that way when I was talking about the newer ones, I'd have something to compare to, you know? And in case you're curious, they're very much the same. The largest difference really just comes down to the midsole here because this is like the 19/20 style Ultra Boost look, whereas the other ones, the DNAs, have obviously the DNA style, which is the 1 through 4. So not as much, not as thick here, but it's kind of going to come down to like the look in some ways because they look so different. If they looked closer, I'd say get this one because it's overall better. But the other one's got some pluses to it as well. But either way, overall, I'm not a huge fan of the visual here, and I almost bought one other pair, but then I figured I don't want to deal with all that. Like, so I'm just going to stick with these. Then I think I was going to hand these down to my brother or something because he wears the same size. But yeah, I just decided I'm just going to stick with these. I don't even wear them a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, and there's been some hot days over here in Virginia land, but I've just kind of been wearing other stuff because I have a lot of lightweight, breathable things. It's what I'm into. Oh man, yeah. This I forget about these a lot. This is an Air Max Plus, but it's in the Air Max Deluxe colorway, right? So that's why it kind of has that sort of vibe to it. And these right here, like I remember rushing online to buy these, whenever they released on the sneakers thing, because I thought like if it's on sneakers, people must really want it, and I would really like a pair. So let me get in before they're all gone. No, I was like the only person that bought these, which is fine, because I did want them. It would have been nice to know that I could have waited. Would I have waited? Of course, right? Sometimes there are things that you want enough that you don't mind just like giving the full retail. This is one that even though I do feel pretty positively about, I could have waited and been just fine. But I like it. It's kind of a cool look and all that good stuff, at least to me. And it's different because it's one you don't see a whole lot of, right? So this right here, the Air Max Plus Deluxe. One of these days, I should consider getting an actual Air Max Plus. I mean, excuse me, an actual Air Max Deluxe. But I'll deal with that at some other point. So the next question down on this list, right, comes from safaricjan. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I have no idea. It's just like a bunch of letters all strung together. There's like some accents over some of them. It's a whole thing that I just don't understand, honestly. But they asked how many pairs of Yeezys I own. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea, right? And I don't count. I counted once, but that was like a long time ago. And since then, many releases have happened. And if it's a 350, I usually have pretty decent luck, right? So that means I've gotten a good number more since. But if you watch the end of the Onyx video, there is a clip in there, the very end, like after like where the credits would be. There is a clip in there where if you see that, it shows you most of the boxes, right? So you could just do a quick count there, I suppose. But otherwise, it'd be a matter of like doing the math and just counting the shoes that I've reviewed because every Yeezy that I've talked about, every Yeezy that I own is here on this channel. Even the doubles, right? Yeah, even the doubles. But excluding that, I mean, it's probably, I would guess like 25. I mean, just because that sounds like a solid number. I mean, because they come out pretty often, right? And I've been buying them for a while. So, a couple years later, right? That sounds fair. If anybody out there happens to know the actual answer, go ahead and let me know, right? And I'd be curious. I'm sure nobody will figure that out or look into that because I don't blame you. But if you have some free time, on to stack number 3. So, okay, this is a short stack. It's only 3, and the reason, as I look at it now, this right here, the Ultra Boost 22 in the almost lime colorway. The thing about these was that this was my Comic-Con shoe for this year, right? Which you can kind of tell why it's a little dingy and stuff. But yeah, so these I pulled out for that reason, right? I bought a pair for me, bought a pair for my mom, so we'd have something new and fresh to walk around in. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to wear like old shoes. You want something new that's going to give you that maximum comfort, right? Because it's a lot of walking and standing out there in San Diego for those things. But either way, so I got these and I wore these basically from Wednesday on. So that's why it's kind of a short week. So these right here, though, I will say the Ultra Boost 22, still a very solid shoe, right? I super recommend them. Though the problem to me is just like the visual, right? Not everybody really buys into that because it just looks so big. So that's where people would probably like more lean towards for all day comfort, cheap shoes. Maybe like some of those Reacts, like the was like the Infinity Run Flyknits and stuff, right? Or maybe what's the other one? The Invincible Zoom X or something. I forget what the exact names are because I haven't touched on those in like a long time. But those are really solid too. But this right here, it's got the advantage of also being a running shoe, you know, with like a more running tuned upper than like the previous Ultra Boost. So you got that. Like, so if something happens, and you need to like get away from some danger, like these are gonna help you out. But it's not like you can't run in a pair of Reacts too. If anything, those are also in the running shoe category. And I want to say might be in almost as many colors. I think the Ultra Boosts do win at the end of the day, as far as like amount to choose from. Let's see. Cheers from what in the world? In North Africa. I have no idea what that says, but hello to you in North Africa. That's an odd word. But I'll have to look into that later if I remember. So, another thing that I wore that week would be this right here. This is the Air Max 97 SE Special Edition, right? What makes it special? I guess because they have all these different materials on it. And one of them is cork, right? I'm a big cork kind of guy when it comes to shoes for some odd reason. I don't know where that came from. I remember getting a pair of Element 87s years ago, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And now it's just a thing that really just pulls me in, right? I bought this whole corks, not this whole series, but I bought these. I bought the 90s. I bought the slides, right? I I feel like I have something else with cork in it. I could be wrong though, but either way, this right here, Air Max 97. It's a thing that I'm a big fan of. It's got this cool little cork plant thing going on, right? You can't really tell there, but trust me, flip through the review, like in the first portion of it, in like the actual review section, you'll see all the close-ups there. It looks really cool. They did a really good job of getting this embroidery thing done. And you got some cork style bottom going on, right? Now this one I was able to get luckily because one of the people that follows me on the Instagram and also watches the videos from time to time, he knew that I wanted these from how disappointed I was that I bought the wrong shoe in the first place when I got those 90s. He was like, oh, well, Finish Line has the 97s. And I was like, what? So I went online to buy them, then they were out. So of course, like any normal adult, I watched that site like a hawk for the next 2 weeks. And then eventually they had them and I bought them immediately. And now here we are. And it's one of those cases where you go through a little bit of extra effort to get something, but it's something that you don't forget about. Like this is one that comes to mind a lot. I don't wear it a lot because I like to keep the rotation moving. But this is one that if I was talking about like favorite shoes overall or whatever, these are coming to mind like almost every time. So yeah, I know it's probably not for everybody. Not even everybody really likes the 97, right? But that particular one, yeah, they did a great job on those, which is good because a lot of the 97s lately have been lackluster at best. So for them to make one that I actually like, that's pretty cool, right? Speaking of things that are pretty cool, this right here is an Ultra Boost 3.0, right? You can tell by like the stitching pattern. The 4 had more of a block sort of style, right? So if you ever look at like a pair of Ultra Boost DNAs, how they have like the different stitchings and whatnot, from front to back, it goes like things like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So if you ever look at a pair of like the DNAs and you're wondering where all those stitching patterns come from, front to back, earliest to latest. Just a little fun fact for you. Either way, this right here, Ultra Boost 3. This one, I'm not gonna say it was my favorite Ultra Boost because I want to say that's still the 19, but when it comes to colorways, I think that the 3 was a good one. It was really good. Like I didn't look at enough ones, so I can't say much about where that stands, and I only have so many 2s, but the 3s I was really into. And this one I remember picking up right before a concert. I went to see, who was it? It was Shinedown, Buckcherry, and Lit, I believe, in El Paso at some casino there. They used to do free shows, and I made sure to get there extra early so I could have time to stop by the mall and see if they had anything I wanted. And this right here, these were like those 97s, one that I often think about because it's one of my favorite Ultra Boosts, period. Just going by colorways, this one is the one, the Trace Pinks, right? But they don't make these anymore. the 3.0s. I kind of wish they would bring them back in some ways, you know? Kind of like how every so often Nike brings back older versions of Air Maxes. But I think I'm just gonna have to cut my losses, you know? Okay. So that's one more week, so it means one more question. Luckily I have 4, so it happened to work out perfectly. Paul Haverman. See, I can pronounce that one. I don't look like an idiot. If you were to write a book on your life, what would it be called? Now that's a tough question, right? Well, actually, you know what? It's not, because I wouldn't write a book on my life, because I wouldn't write a book, period. I might, you know, have some inputs made on like a coloring book, but, you know, I'm not one for writing a whole lot, you know? I'm more of a visual, and audio sort of guy, right? So I guess if I made like a book on tape, maybe that would work, you know? Well, obviously it wouldn't be on tape. But either way, here's the thing though. Like a book or anything about my life, I feel like it would be not super interesting, like not even close, right? And if anything, I mean, it could be maybe like a self-help book or whatever. Because if any one of you knows anything about me, it's that I tend to just not care about stuff, right? I'm very good at just kind of moving on through my day and not letting anything bother me. It's like all that other stuff happening, you know, that people get all worked up over. It's like, that doesn't affect me or anything that I care about. So I'm not going to worry about that. Things that happen at work, that's at work. What's it matter? It doesn't affect my real life, right? So I just kind of think that, you know, all that stuff just doesn't really matter for the most part, right? So if it was to be made and was to be called something, I guess it'd be, you know, none of that really matters. You know, that'd probably be the title, because that's how I feel most of the time, right? Just bebopping through life, not a care in the world, right? Helps keep me young too, you know, because I'm like actually like quite old. Well, I don't know. I guess I wouldn't say quite old, because that's like 80s. But I'm no spring chicken either, right? But luckily, you know, living in a certain kind of way helps you at least stay feeling and somewhat looking not so old. So yeah, no real answer for you. I mean, I wouldn't even read a book about somebody's life, because I don't really read either. Hello, JJ all day. Thanks for stopping in. I also like those 97. But yeah, actually, you know, I will say the last book that I read was a book about somebody's life. It was Have a Nice Day by Mick Foley, and it was 2001. So it's been 21 years since I read a book, which is kind of weird. Unless you want to count some graphic novels, right? I did just order The Last Ronin, Ninja Turtles thing. So there is that. There's also this. This is an Ultra Boost 22 in the Cold Ready style, right? It's the Magic Gray colorway, which is also the same colorway as the first Ultra Boost 22 that I bought. If you were to put them side by side, you might think, oh, well, those are both blue. You probably wouldn't put them together as the same name, but it is what it is. So either way, looking at these, they've got like that standard sort of like rugged outsole, right? Otherwise, the midsole is going to be the same. And then you've got all this like, I don't want to call it insulation, but it's kind of like a protection sort of thing from, you know, wet weather and whatnot. So very cool for what they're made for, right? I guess this part back here is slightly more insulated than normal, right? But otherwise, it's very much just your standard winter rain type shoe. But the one thing I do like about it, like this particular color, it just looks like it'd be like a winter shoe, you know, because like this whole ice sort of thing they have going on. But I pulled these out because, like I was saying, does it say water resistant on here? I thought it did. But, you know, it says on the tongue there some stuff about cold weather. But either way, I pulled these out because I was down in Nashville last weekend. Yeah. Because it was SummerSlam, right? I was watching that, Ric Flair's last match, that whole thing. You know, I like to go see wrestling and stuff. So I went to go see some wrestling and stuff. And I heard it was going to rain. So I was like, well, if I'm only going to wear one pair of shoes, I'm taking these. Because if that rain happens, I need my feet to at least be dry, right? Everything else is everything else. None of that other stuff matters, but I don't want my feet all wet while I'm walking around. It just sounds awful. So these are what I went with, and you know what? It did rain for all of 4 minutes. Yeah, so totally unnecessary. And the only reason I was even caught in that rain is because it took us a little longer to get into this parking garage than we expected to. So when we were walking from the parking garage to the Ric Flair match, at that point we encountered some of the rain, right? So yeah, this shoe was almost completely unnecessary. But as I say in those reviews, right, I don't need a whole lot of those. I just like having them because you never know, right? And this was one of those times where it kind of came in handy, and it was nice to say that I have it there. So those, yeah, man, yeah, it's a good one. I don't think they're selling so hot because it's not really the season to be wearing a lot of cold shoes, but I believe there's still a few out there in the world on the Adidas.com. These are not on Adidas.com, but they are an Adidas shoe. This is the Wave Runner 700. So here's the thing, right? I've said a lot of bad things about these over the years, and I decided, you know what? Because especially after that last live I sat down and did, I thought, let me go ahead and break these things out. I'm gonna wear them, give them the whole all-day treatment, and see if my mind changes. And I will be completely honest with you, it did not. Right? I still think that this shoe looks dumb and does not feel as great as it should for the price that you pay. And I remember saying something to somebody. I was like, yeah, this, I don't know, it's weird. It's got this big orthopedic look. It's blah, blah, blah. It was just kind of like doing the rundown of what I thought. And he was like, yeah, I mean, I didn't want to like speak bad about like the clothes or shoes or whatever that you're wearing, but I totally agree. Those are not cool at all. And I was like, yeah, they're not, right? Because they're not. But a lot of people are super into these. I just wanted to give them that second chance to see if like maybe they'd come around for me. And I can give them a solid thumbs up on like the craftsmanship and the materials and all that good stuff. But that unfortunately also plays into them costing $300, right? And this overall $300, not worth it to me, right? But at least now I know that. So there is that, though. I could have just not found out for myself and just went by the pictures as I had for a while. But when Adidas says, hey, you want these? Who am I to turn down exclusive access, right? I feel like that's part of the reason that I get the exclusive access and get through on the raffles like I do with them, because I give them a lot of money on a regular basis. It also helps that I have a shoe size that is common, right? So it's one of the ones where they make a lot of them. 9.5, right? It's not hard to come by. It's not like a 15, right? So, hey, Optimistic. Haven't seen him in a while. What's going on, man? How's life in... I feel like you live in North Carolina or Washington. I know there's like a large difference between there. There's a lot of space in between those two states, but I feel like one of those is right. So, and then he says hello to JJ. Okay, they're saying hey to each other. Okay, so this, another 4D shoe. This one is the Ultra 4D, right? Which actually kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. So moments ago, I was talking about the Ultra Boost 3.0, right? And then I kind of dove into the Ultra Boost DNAs from there. And that's kind of where this comes in. So like I was saying, in the front part, I believe that the top is like the Ultra Boost 1, the side Ultra Boost 2, middle section Ultra Boost 3, back section Ultra Boost 4, right, as far as stitching patterns go. So in case you're wondering what this like weird mix of things is, that's where it comes from, right? Either way, this is the Ultra 4D, and like I completely forgot that these things are like crazy comfortable, because like I wore the one pair that I have, but this was the pair that I wanted the most, right? So when I saw these finally drop in price, because I knew that they weren't going to sell out, so I figured I'll just wait. When I saw these drop in price, I picked them up and I was super excited about them, at least as far as I can go, right? Because my excitement level is like here at most. Other people can get up to here. I can't break this barrier, right? So I saw these, got these, and I was like, yeah, did it, right? And crazy enough, I've had these things since like, I want to say September, and wearing these 2 weeks ago was the first time I wore them. I was so sure that I had broken these out. No, I hadn't. And it was crazy, because again, it's something you want so badly or whatever. But these things, comfort-wise, are, I don't want to oversell it. I never do. But it was very, very nice, right? The Ultra Boost upper thing, like all that prime knit stuff, this here, it breaks in pretty nicely, It's kind of stiff, but it's like got the right amount of cushion to it as well. It's kind of weird to describe it. But yeah, these Ultra 4Ds, if you can find a color that you like and the size that works for you or whatever, true to size, by the way, yeah, definitely look into getting a pair, because they're pretty all right. But, that's just me. you might want to double check through some of my reviews and whatnot and see how I feel about other things, because you might see like, oh, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna take this guy's word for it based on some other things he said. But as it stands, like I do like these a fair amount, and I have 2 pair. That's enough. You know what I'm saying? Because again, I'm not trying to have too many of the same model these days. But it's definitely one that it'd be, if I saw a really nice colorway, it'd be difficult to not buy it. I'll leave it at that. Let's see. I feel like there was something. I live in Charlotte, and oh, okay, that's what it was. Anesthesia traveler. All right, because I was like, I felt like, because I was thinking like you when you called, like you had a Charlotte number, but then I remember you saying something about being in Seattle, and I was like, he's got to live in one of those. All right, and then Hitchum Chaudhria says 4D are the top heart. Yeah, man, they are. They're. It's one that was very overlooked, I think, right? Because I don't see people talking about them at all. And that's not like all 4D. Actually, you know what? That kind of does go with all 4D shoes, because I don't see anybody talking about most 4Ds anything, right? The Future Crafts, those 4D runs, the Ultra 5Ds. I have some nice kicks 4D something or other. What is that? The ZX 8000. That was my first 4D shoe. Yeah, people aren't really talking those up a whole lot for some reason. This is what we're ending with as far as like the shoe things go, right? So this is the New Balance 997S in some sort of sunset type of colorway. It's one of those ones that I have a fair amount of because I'm a huge fan of like this look. So I got a couple pairs of what Air Max Pluses. You know, I think everybody, well, a lot of people probably do because that was a popular one. And I think I have this in some other shoe as well, but I can't think of what it might be. But I will say one thing I didn't know about this when I bought them was that it was from some Kawhi Leonard pack or something where he designed some shoes. So this 997S is one of his designs or something, or it's made for him in some kind of way. I don't know, maybe it's based off like the colors on whatever team he plays for. I don't know anything about sports. It's not my strong suit, right? Unless we're talking wrestling. Then we can talk all day. But all the other sports, you know, like the real ones, no idea what's going on in those. But yeah, these right here, very cool, very comfortable as well, right? I might need to break out my other 997s. Got a pair of 997Hs. Well, 2 pair actually. But yeah, not as amazing as some other things, but you know, I do like them a fair amount. So I have no problem wearing these all around that day. And they do make me want to buy more New Balance shoes, but I just don't follow the New Balance releases like I probably should, because, you know, I mean, the information is out there, right? It's not like it's difficult. I just don't do it, right? But at this point, I don't really follow any shoe releases anymore. Like if Adidas says, hey, this is coming out, or Nike says, hey, this is coming out, cool. And occasionally, like if I'm super bored on my phone or whatever, I have like the SVD and Foot Patrol and sneakers and stuff. Like I have those 3 things installed. So I might see what raffles they have going on. Same with Well Gosh, you know, I buy a lot of stuff from them. So I'll see what they have going on and maybe put in a raffle here and there. But the days of me being on like Sneaker News or Soul Links, mostly over, right? Like because I have a lot of stuff at this point. So like seeking out more stuff, kind of unnecessary, honestly. Okay, so before I forget, one more question. This one comes from old Sneaker Hearts Cam, right? I was talking to him because I'm thinking about taking a trip out to visit the family. My mom actually just got over there today to see the family. I don't know what that is. So he asks, if you were to visit Chicago in the near future, would you eat your weight in deep dish pizza? And I do like pizza a fair amount, right? I actually just ordered a Domino's pizza before this, spinach and feta cheese. That's all I get on mine, in case anybody's curious. So, I mean, I'm not going to say I'd eat my weight in it because, you know, obesity is a thing and you got to prevent that. But I would not shy away from partaking in some deep dish pizza, right? It sounds like a good idea, you know? So I'd eat a fair amount. I could say that. Though, also, I don't know if anyone has ever noticed, but I'm a fairly thin dude. So there's not a whole lot of room in here anyway. So I can only eat so much as is. But, you know, I could definitely see myself like filling this area with deep dish pizza if it's like the right toppings, you know. But I am thinking about going out there because I haven't been to see the family in a while, and I'd like to stop by there with all the Sneaker Hearts guys, maybe do a little bit of that volunteer type work that I usually do a fair amount of and haven't done lately. So it's kind of time to get back into that stuff if I can or whatever. And to see them because got a couple friends out there, got Juke over there, got Cam up here. Usually Jay plays drums is on one of these on the calendar thing, but I think that was last month. Him too, you know. I think there's some other people that live in Chicago. I think Mr. Z Benden lives out there too. And if anybody else is in Chicago, you know, say that you're also in Chicago. Don't lie, I'll know. But yeah, so it's a thing that I would like to do. So hopefully I do make it out there, and then I can let you all know just how much deep dish pizza I ate, right? But yes, and JJ says definitely the wrestling talk. Yeah, see, that's my thing, right? After this, I'm probably gonna go back to watching. I really need to catch up on Dynamite because between San Diego for Comic Con and Nashville for SummerSlam, I haven't had a lot of time to watch things. So that backlog is just piling up, you know. But before I go, I'll leave the floor open. If anybody has any questions, you can like throw them out there and whatnot. I'll give you some time to like formulate those, type them all out and whatnot, because I know it can take a minute if you're tapping away on your phone or whatever. But if you're on a keyboard, click-clacking away, then it's definitely a lot easier. I'm a keyboard guy myself. But in case there aren't any, I'm going to start closing this thing on out. From me to you, have a nice rest of your day or rest of your night, whatever it is, wherever you are. I definitely appreciate each and every last one of you stopping in here because I'm sure, as I always am, that there's other stuff you could be doing and maybe even should be doing, but you're neglecting that to hang out over here, which I will say makes me question your life decisions, but I appreciate it. So there is that. And now, since I don't see anything in there, that's cool. That means we're just gonna part ways here. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday or Monday, depending on where you are, and maybe I'll catch up with some of you guys later. Later, people.